Hare Krishna, dear ladies, and welcome to the March Urban Devi Sangha and Women's Discussion Group. A special welcome to those joining us for the first time. If you are joining us for the first time, please write it in the chat so that we can all say hello. My name is Damodar Priya Devi Dasi, and I co-host this monthly gathering with our dear Rukmini Walker and Surabhi Govinda Devi Dasi. So let me introduce our guest speaker for today. Ananga Manjari Devi Dasi has dedicated her life to spiritual pursuits and theological teachings and spiritual practices of the Vedas for 55 years under the guidance of her spiritual teacher, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. And today she's going to be speaking about the topic spiritual evolution beyond the chaos. And just to quickly describe that, she's going to give us tools that will help us keep focused on the essential spiritual purpose of our human journey, especially during turbulent times, which I'm sure we are all experiencing now. But before I turn over the floor to Ananga Manjari, Rukmini would like to say a couple of words about her. Please go ahead.
Yes, welcome everyone. I just wanted to say that I first met Ananga Manjari in Boston. What year was it, Ananga?
1970.
1970. And she came to the temple and she was so enthusiastic and so inspired. And all the devotees in the temple would always say, "Oh, soon she'll be like everyone else. She'll calm down and she'll just be like the rest of us very soon." But she actually never did. And she's such an inspired, she must have been a devotee, very, very pure devotee from many, many lives before, because it was just like she just took to Krishna consciousness so beautifully and spontaneously. And so she's one of my favorite devotees in the world, and I'm so grateful that she's here to present to us today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And I can say for Rukmini as well. I was just, yes. She created a beautiful mood of love and camaraderie. She just embraced me immediately. She took me by the arm when I walked in the temple, and she brought me to a room full of flowers because she was the Manjari. And she said, "Do you know anything about flowers, or do you like flowers?" And I went, "Yeah, I like flowers." She sat me down and trained me up how to do everything, garlands and vases. And it was wonderful. The times were beautiful then too, and they're beautiful now. We want to make them beautiful within us. So thank you, Rukmini. It means a lot for me to be here, and I appreciate all of you. Thank you, and I hope I can do a little service in this presentation for you. So we're discussing the spiritual evolution beyond the chaos, and chaos has been here since time immemorial on this earth planet for human beings. As humans, we have a constant flux of change and dualities. The dualities are always changing. And what some dualities do we face? Daylight, nighttime, darkness, any other happiness, distress. Anyone want to mention a few dualities that pop up in your mind? Anyone?
Anger and enlightenment. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anger and
enlightenment, like in the balance of like
the balance
peacefulness.
Yes,
the anger.
Anger born of ego, and enlightenment born of true ego, real, not false ego. Yeah.
Shapes and straight lines.
Yes, those are dualities. Sometimes our path is straight, sometimes we're going different ways. Yes. Anyone else?
Yes. One of the things I recently found is grief and love.
Oh, wow. That is very beautiful, because when our hearts can remember all the love that we had, and that's why we feel grief. That's the purpose, that's the result, is because of the love. So if we can remember the love, the grieving is a little bit, less intense. Good. That was beautiful. Then there's gain, loss, victory, defeat, hot, cold, knowledge and ignorance, nescience and light, passion and indifference that we experience with different people in our lives. Sometimes that causes chaos in our lives. Sometimes attraction and repulsion, expectations and disappointment. I remember even when I was little, I would think, oh, I can hardly wait till I get to high school, can hardly wait till I get to college. And then you're just disappointed the whole, not always, but intermittent disappointments and intermittent excitements and expectations. Then the pleasure, pain, peace, and turbulence. So these are constantly distracting us from who we are because they cause emotions, they cause reactions within us. And these dualities are always changing, and they affect different aspects of our life. They definitely affect relationships when there's, attraction and repulsion or passion and indifference. It gets confusing. They change our finances. They affect our success, our emotional and physical well-being, because we become so emotional up and down. Our adrenaline systems go crazy, and we all become bipolar. I mean, it lends itself to that. All these dualities lend ourselves to highs and lows. So definitely affects our emotions and well-being. It affects our values. It affects our ethics. Sometimes things happen to us and we may lose faith or gain faith because of it. Sometimes it affects our behavior. We react very emotionally, or we can respond intelligently. So these changes are always changing, but yet it's constant. One Greek philosopher said, change is the only constant in life. You can be sure that something will change. In Massachusetts, they used to say, if you don't like the weather, just wait a minute, because it's going to change. And now it's almost like that everywhere. Yet change causes uncertainty, because with each change, it changes again. So we just get used to one thing and then it changes again. So by its very nature, it keeps changing, even though it's constant, but it constantly changes. Whereas the soul in Bhagavad Gita and the Gita wisdom, the wisdom of the sages, the soul is constant. The soul is eternal. The soul doesn't change. The soul is Satchit Ananda, full of ecstasy, knowledge, and bliss. So it never changes. When I first became a devotee in Boston, Rukmini taught me that where the soul is full of ecstasy, knowledge, and bliss. And so one day I would love to go on Harinam. I love to dance and just sing and dance. I was like carefree. And then one day the devotee said, now go out and distribute these Back to Godhead magazines. And I said, I don't know what to say to the people. They said, say whatever you realized. And then I remembered what Rukmini had told me. So I went out, I'm holding the magazine up in the Boston Commons, and I'm going, ecstasy, knowledge, eternity, like a little newsy boy. Ecstasy, knowledge, eternity. And all the hippies, oh, wow, that sounds cool. So the soul doesn't change, so it doesn't want change. The soul doesn't want all these changes. It's a distraction to our soul essence, to the ecstasy of love that we actually already have within us. The soul doesn't want all these distractions. So what we can do is we have, as human beings, we have body, mind, intelligence, and the soul. And the soul is who we are. The soul is the light, the energy giving us, shining through the body, mind, and intelligence. So what we could do is understand these different aspects of human life, the mind, the body, the intelligence, and try to become able to adapt to the changes, determining our, that determine our evolution or devolution. So if I know how to adapt and don't get stuck in it, then I can make spiritual progress and evolve. So in the Vedic scriptures and in many other scriptures, it says this more or less, that this material world is always changing. There's turbulence. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that I really like. In the Sanskrit, it's Mata Sparshas tu Kaunteya, and in English, it goes on. And in English, it's that just like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. So happiness and distress are just like the appearance and disappearance. We can be assured that it's going to be changing, but it's non-permanent. So the non-permanent appearance and disappearance of winter and summer, hot and cold, all the dualities, they're always changing. And one should not be a sage or a thoughtful person should not be disturbed by these changes. So how do we tolerate? How do we get unstuck in a change that we don't like, especially, or that harms us or hurts us or hurts our ego or hurts our soul? So how do we get unstuck? Well, one thing, there's a lot of wisdom in the world, and there's that prayer, God grant me the serenity to accept to change what I can. The courage. Courage is first. God grant me the courage to change what I can and accept what I can't, and then the wisdom to know the difference. So accepting what I can't change doesn't mean that I just let it go and let it affect me, but it means that I understand it and I realize I can't change it. So I stop putting energy into it. I can't change it. Why keep putting your energy, your negative energy? Oh, I wish it was like this. Oh, why can't they be like this? Why can't this be like that? How can I make it like this? How can I change it? And we dwell on that. We get stuck in it. We go on and on in our mind with this. So this concept of getting unstuck is helps us not only spiritually, because we want to evolve and go beyond it, but the concept of getting unstuck is very helpful psychologically. And if we understand it psychologically, then it will help us even spiritually. So psychologists often teach that insanity means repeating the same thing over and over and thinking that you're going to get a different result. Many psychologists say this. It's kind of a common statement. What is insanity? Doing the same thing over and over, thinking something different will happen. So it's continuing to ruminate in disappointment, in the negativity, in why can't I change this? So how can I get them to change? That I just go over and over. And sometimes we see people really stuck, and it may not be our problem. So we look at them and we go, why are they so stuck on that? But then we have our problems that we get stuck on. So we need to look at that within ourselves. We don't have to remain victims of our circumstance. That's a very important point. People go, I'm a victim of circumstance. I can't help it. But we can help, because we can have the courage, or pray for the courage to change the things that we can. And that's within ourselves, our perspective, our thought process, how we handle it, how we can adapt, what we need to do. So our happiness and satisfaction does not have to depend on how other people behave or on any external situation that happens to us. I'm not saying it's easy, but these are things to try to remember so that it can help us as much as possible, as much as we can. Contentment can be found through our ability to understand the external circumstances are temporary, they're impermanent, they're going to change, and we see things from a higher introspective perspective. And that's the meaning of tolerate. In the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, it says, too much dependence on another's mercy destroys the vitality of a living being. So if we get too much dependent on anything external, then our vitality, our very soul's vitality, kind of gets covered, and we become discouraged, disappointed, you know, or even depressed sometimes. So when we're looking at our problems in front of us, it's like a big mountain, and we're down here, we're little, and we're looking at this big mountain. Oh my God, it's insurmountable. But if we can fly on the wings of the mercy of the knowledge from the sages and saintly people in the world, then we fly above the mountain. And then when we're up there, we look down and it looks not so big anymore. It's not so insurmountable anymore. So we have to give our attention to our higher self, give more attention to our higher self. And I'm sure many of you are already doing that. And then just think, now we can even add a little more time and effort and attention into our spiritual self or higher self. And sometimes pain and suffering, karma, comes just to push us into the direction of, oh, I need to change something in my life. I need to think differently and, you know, go into that internal space. So sometimes that's a blessing. Karma is our friend. Karma is our friend because it pushes us to change for the better. Of course, you know, sometimes we see, and it's very common, and it happens to me, it happens to so many people, where sometimes something is so difficult. It's easy to say, but sometimes something is so difficult that it pushes us down. The karma pushes us down. We lose a loved one. I can't even imagine that suffering, how intense it could be, like the grief that one of you mentioned. What do we do with that? So the more love we have, the more grief there is. So we have to remember the love part, but it's not easy. And take shelter of each other, helping each other, encouraging each other, being there for each other, being listeners for each other, especially as I see mostly ladies here. So especially for ladies, urban Devis and suburban Devis and forest Devis. To come together like this. And thank you, Rukmini, for creating this amazing little, you know, this amazing big group that that can encourage each other and really find that true care and concern. That's bhakti. That's bhakti expanding. So we have troubles. What do? It's good to have someone to go to. So Arjuna, in the Bhagavad Gita, we hear that Arjuna, Krishna's friend and comrade, he had difficulty. He's on this battlefield and he sees, I have to kill my relatives. Like, oh no, like, what is this? I can't do this. He had a good heart. And so he went to Krishna and said, I'm bewildered. And he's this big warrior, like buff, you know, six-pack, you know, famous, very famous and powerful warrior, always on top of everything, always protecting everyone. He had his bow and arrow, special transcendent bow and arrow. And he lost it. He dropped the bow. He's sitting there totally bewildered. He has tears in his eyes. And he's saying, Krishna, I don't know what to do. I'm confused. Those are the dualities that are coming to him. And he's becoming the chaos, his own little chaos in his mind. So he's wondering what to do. So he goes to Krishna, which is wonderful. And then the whole Bhagavad Gita is spoken, the song of God. It's a beautiful song coming from the heart of God and the intelligence of God to soothe us in our times of chaos and distress. The knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita as it is soothes us in our times of chaos. So when we're in confusion, sometimes we go for counseling. And what does a counselor do? Well, if they're a good counselor, then they help us decipher the situation. They help us to see it in different perspectives. They help navigate the confusion of the mind and the emotions. They help us use our higher intelligence to overcome the confusion, so that we can start giving attention to our healthier version of ourselves. and that we can outgrow our problems. That's the goal of going to counseling, is to help outgrow our problems. So spiritual counselors, sage, saints, Krishna, God himself, they've given so many instructions in Shastra, in the Bible, in different religious scriptures and other lofty writings that are in the version with the same mood of the, attempting the same goal as what is in the scriptures. So it's like, when we read these things, when we know these things, we study these things, and we can use this knowledge. It's like seeing through the eyes of eternity, I like to call it. We have a problem, and it's like this here and stuck in our heads. We ruminate over and over. And then if we get some vision, some wisdom, some light, transcendent light in our, for our intelligence, then we can start seeing through the eyes of eternity, the big picture. Oh, it's temporary. Oh, it's not even real. Sometimes it's a dream. Sometimes my emotions create anxiety that's not even necessary. So we see through the eyes of the eternals, through the eyes of the sages, through the eyes of that we, in Sanskrit, it's called Shastra, or scripture, or transcendent teachings. So this transcendental knowledge, it's said, is like a sword that cuts through the confusion and chaos. And how do we sharpen that sword? With devotion, with love. So Prabhupada, his name, our spiritual master, our preceptor, is Bhaktivedanta. And Bhakti means love, and Vedanta means knowledge. So with the sword of knowledge, sharpened by love, devotion, we can cut through this chaos for ourselves and help others. And automatically, when we learn something, we like to teach it to someone else. We like to repeat it to someone else. It solidifies our knowledge and it helps others. So this is a natural reaction to gaining some information and knowledge. So that's why all the saintly people, they're all there for others. Most of them, their whole life is helping others, reaching out to others. They've gotten some enlightenment. They're not thinking, oh, I'm better than everyone. I'm up here on this mountain and, meditating, and I've got this knowledge. No, I pray and wish the best for everyone. I want everyone to have this light in their life. So transcendental knowledge awakens the soul to our real healthier purpose. It calms the mind so that we can make better choices and we can behave better, behave in our highest goodness and healthy ways to engage with other people, have healthy relationships. It fortifies the higher intelligence. It calms the mind. The sort of knowledge, is sharpened by the devotional service. So both together, Bhakti and Vedanta, we put it together, and man, that's like the solution for everything. And when we do that with the chanting of the holy names and understanding the philosophy, the problems seem very small. The problems get small because our higher purpose is taking over. Our higher goal becomes more of our focus instead of the problems. So there's much wisdom in the world, and it comes in all different shapes, sizes, religions, cultures, and spiritual backgrounds. We also call this knowledge Veda, the Vedas, and they're ancient texts that are written by saintly people. So they teach us what to embrace and accept that's favorable for our spiritual evolution. And these scriptures and writings teach us what to avoid and reject that's not favorable for our spiritual evolution. And there are many, many things. That's a whole other topic within and of itself. And maybe we can speak about that another time. But basically, we want to reject self-righteousness, because when people become spiritually aware. There's an easy tendency, and that's called in the mode of goodness. There's like we're rising from darkness, ignorance, passion, and goodness. Many times people who are very highly intellectual or have a lot more knowledge than others, or whether it's spiritual knowledge or material knowledge, they become a little proud, and they start thinking, oh, I know more than these people, and they become a little impatient with others. We notice this sometimes. It's a psychological reaction that many, we see it and sometimes. So when people become trying to be spiritual, we're trying to be spiritual. Of course, we are spiritual beings, but we're trying to get back to that and understand it. So sometimes in our immaturity, we become self-righteous and we start judging others. Oh, they don't know that rule. Oh, they know it, but they're not following that rule. These are guidelines. They're not necessarily rules. Our spiritual preceptor, Srila Prabhupada, he said that these are guidelines for freedom, to free the soul, to free ourselves from the chaos of the dualities of the material nature. So we don't use them to shame others. Oh, how did you do this? Why did you do this? You're not supposed to do this. You're sinful, unworthy. You're unworthy to reach enlightenment or purity. I'm better. So we keep people under our control to try to make ourselves look better. Or sometimes in spiritual life, we have to avoid and not embrace and avoid the concept of just, oh, I'm just going along for the ride. I'm blindly following. Oh, anyone says anything spiritual, I'm just like, okay, yeah, sure. And not thinking for ourselves, how can I use this? Or how is this not necessarily something I want to use in my life? So we have to discriminate. We don't judge, but we discriminate for ourselves, what to accept, what to reject. So what is the actual intention of scripture or intention of spiritual knowledge? The intention, I made a little quote that I like to say, that fanatic dogma is not the intention of scripture or religion or transcendent knowledge. Sacred writings offer a perspective of divine purpose to our humanity. They guide and unify us in wise, ethical, and kindly pursuits. So anything that's going to help us become kinder, wiser, more calm, more discriminating with intelligence, with higher intelligence, that's to be embraced. And as soon as we think, I like to say the only sin in religion or in the world, the only sin, if you want to call it sin or offense, is when we hurt someone else. That's how I see it. We hurt someone else, or we're hurting ourselves, through so many different things. Okay, so that's something we can discuss more on, how the scriptures are actually giving us very precise things, how to behave, how to live, how to have what kind of lifestyle we want to acquire or practice, so that we can have our spiritual evolution and transcend the chaos. So, but that, like I said, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other topic. So we want to say, we're talking about self-awareness. We're saying going within, becoming introspective. We already have a divine safe place within us from the chaos, because we are, as we said before, Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda means we're eternal. The soul is eternal. The soul is full of knowledge already, and the soul is full of bliss. We're already, part of the spiritual world is already in us. It's a safe place to go. So that's why, when people meditate and they pray, they're trying to be in the presence of God or reciprocating with God. You find your quiet time to do that, your quiet little sacred space that you make. These are very special moments when we can do this. But sometimes what gets in the way? We call it chatter, right? It's our self-talk, our chatter. Our mind is, our brain and mind is constantly, we're talking to ourselves all the time, to make a decision or processing an emotion. So self-talk, we listen to our inner voice. So let's think about for a moment, what is your inner voice? What is the main mood or theme of your inner voice? Usually we have a theme or a mood that's almost constant. It's our stream of consciousness that keeps running through our mind. Is our general talk, self-talk, ruminating negative things, or being disappointed all the time in everything around me? Or is it based on our own healthy value system, the value system that we've created and evolved to, of what I really want to embrace in my life and what I don't? So how is our self-talk going? So there's the psychologists say there's 3 C's when you're thinking about self-talk. There's the 3 C's to be conscious of your self-talk. Well, first, catch it. Be conscious of it. Catch it. Oh man, I've been thinking of this problem and I'm just going over and over and I'm not finding a solution. So what is we should think, what is the feeling, the thought behind the feeling? The feeling is there. I'm disappointed, or someone says something to me and I become upset or disappointed or angry. And immediately I just want to throw something. But what do you mean by that? I don't like what you said, and we want to fight. But why don't we stop for a second and we actually step back? And psychologists actually say, step back. Take a step back physically in your body, and then in your mind, you go inside and think, what was my thought before the feeling? Okay, why was I disappointed or angry? You know, well, then we can check it. We check that thought. Is it actually accurate? Is it useful for me or accurate for me? Because oftentimes it won't be. I become angry because my ego is hurt. So then how do I want to deal with that? Do I really want my ego to put more energy into my ego and start arguing or fussing about it? Or is it a principle that someone could get hurt? Then I can be more like an advocate and address it intelligently, not just emotionally. How dare you say that? You know, but oh, well, what do you mean by that? I want to know more what you're saying, because I want to really, you know, and we can defeat the argument with intelligence when we step back and think about it. Does that make sense? I hope that's kind of helpful. Okay. So that we catch it, we check it. Is it accurate? How do I want to respond? We choose the way that we want to respond to it. And then we change our reaction or into a response, an intelligent response instead of an emotional reaction. So we have the power to change and improve the dialogues that we have with others and the dialogue that we have with ourselves. Sometimes because maybe we had a hard upbringing and people kept telling us as little children, you'll never make it. You'll never amount to anything. You're not worth my time or my love. And so we keep thinking that, and we believe that, and that's our self-talk. And we get into all relationships that confirm that self-talk. So we have more problems continuing. But we could change this with these little tools and techniques. And that will help us spiritually. So within the chaos of our ever-changing circumstances, we occasionally get a spiritual experience, an awakening, an aha moment. Oprah calls it an aha moment. And her Super Soul Sunday discussions. So yeah, every now and then, well, maybe for many of you, maybe all the time, but for me, very now and then, very rarely, I get a little spiritual vision of of spiritual understanding, and the light comes, the light goes on. we may think sometimes, oh, you know, there was something more than what's in front of me. There's something more, there's something deeper, there's something greater than me, than what's in front of me. So I had an aha moment. I was very fortunate, and I am very grateful for this. Rukmini requested me to express this little time, my experience. I had been doing lots of book distribution, and I was in charge of a Sankirtan party in Los Angeles and Laguna Beach, of all women, and we would go out on the road and distribute, you know, Bhagavatams and all this spiritual scripture from the Vedas. And the mood changed, and there was no more books to distribute. They kind of started just trying to collect money and things. So I was feeling moved to leave and go to Mayapur. Mayapur is a place in India, a sacred holy place by the Ganges River, the sacred Ganges River. In those days, it was very pristine and natural. And it's a spiritual place where a Lord Chaitanya appeared, who's an incarnation of Krishna, or not, he is Krishna, and he appeared only 500 years ago. He appeared only 500 years ago as an avatar, Krishna avatar. And anyway, so I started feeling moved inside myself to go there. And I started preparing to go. And it was like, I'm just being called to do this inside. So I'm sitting on the airplane. And while I'm sitting on the airplane, I started thinking, oh, well, Prabhupada had already left the planet. My spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he had already left the planet. But his sister was still alive. And I started thinking of her, oh, I wonder if I'll meet her. I wonder if she lives in Mayapur, or is she in Calcutta, or where is she? Maybe I'll try to meet her. If it's easy, I'll meet her. And as soon as I thought that, well, if it's easy, I was thinking of it in a very nonchalant way, not like I had to do that, but I was all of a sudden within my heart, there's this deep voice within our heart sometimes is felt. And it said, you're going to Mayapur only to take care of Pishima, and then you're coming back. And I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting anything like that. I really wasn't. I wasn't going there for just a few months. I was thinking I was going to spend the rest of my life there. But I was going to go there, take care of Pishima, and then I had to come back. And I was like a little shocked. And I thought, I've had these deep feelings once in a great while, and they always came true. But let me think, I was doubting, is this just my mind, or is it real? Anyway, when I got to Mayapur, Pishima was there, Prabhupada's sister, and she looked just like him. I have a little picture, but it's over there. Anyway, should I show it? Okay, let me get the picture. It's a small little picture. I'll put it up here. Can you see? Let me take this down. Do you see her without the reflection?
Yes, just there is good.
She looks very much like Prabhupada.
Yeah.
So she was there, but she was not well. She was not feeling well. And I would go to her and play mridanga and sing, and she would play kartals a little bit on the edge of the bed and sing with me. And she was always excited to see the Western devotees chanting and being devotional. And a few times her relatives would come and she'd say, you all know this culture. You've been brought up with this Hare Krishna, and you're not doing it. You're not practicing it. And look at what Prabhupada did with these Westerners. He changed their hearts, changed their whole concept of life, and raised it. So she was always proud of Prabhupada for that, and very affectionate to all of us. And anyway, she was getting more ill and, declining. She was old. And I was taking care of her. So I would I was there 24/7 in her room. I didn't leave the room. I decided I'm not leaving this room. I'm sleeping there, everything. And we had mosquito nets because in Mayapur, a lot of big, huge mosquitoes would come. So in order to keep her happy in the mosquito net without mosquitoes, you'd light incense all around and you'd have the net. And as you're lighting the incense, it would make the mosquitoes, the smoke, make them go away. And then you have to pull down the net right on time when you think there's no more mosquitoes there. Anyway, and then I would take the incense and pretend I was offering it to her like a ceremony, artik ceremony. We call it artik. It's where we offer different elements of the earth to the Lord in devotion. So I would do like this, and I'd sing and like this and dance in front of her, and she would laugh, and I'd say, Pishima, this is your altar, and I'm worshiping you. And she would just laugh, cute. I tried to make her laugh because that was all I could do. And I was speaking broken Bengali and, to try to help her understand things. So she was lying on her deathbed the last day that she was there. It was an Ekadashi. And the day before, all she asked is Kal Ekadashi. That means tomorrow Ekadashi. Ekadashi is a holy day where we fast and pray more. So it's a day where there's more prayer going on and good vibrations coming. So she had kept asking, is it Ekadashi? And so that morning she was not responding. So she was sitting on the edge of the bed, kind of all limp with her head down. And I was kind of massaging her back with one hand, and I had my japa beads. I was chanting my rounds with my rosary japa. And I would go, Hare Krishna. And I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do for her? How can I comfort her? What can I do to make her comfortable? And so I kept asking in broken Bengali, do you need water? Do you need milk? Do you want to go to the bathroom? Do you need anything? What can I do for you? And there was no answer. And then I put on we had the old cassette tapes in those days. You guys don't even know what that is. Anyway, it's like a tape recorder. And so I kept this tape recorder going on with Prabhupada singing Nitai Padakamala. Oh, because I used to want to converse with her. And when she wasn't so sick, I would come in the room sometime and I'd go, Pishima, Nitai Padakamala. And she'd go, Koti Chandra Shushitala. It's a Bengali poem and prayer. And then I'd go, Ye Chaya. And she'd go, Jagad Ajudaya. And we'd like kind of as if we were conversing it. And we both would just laugh. So anyway, I kept that tape playing of Prabhupada singing that song. And then I went to her and I'd say, Pishima, Prabhupada Shuno, you hear Prabhupada? And she would go, huh. So that was the only thing she was responding to, not milk, water, anything else. And then, hot, cold, do you need anything? Nope, no answer. But as soon as I said, Prabhupada Shuno, huh, she hears Prabhupada. So I thought, okay, I have to just keep that. And in those days, there was, you had to keep putting it in, plugging it, pressing it, every time it went out. So I was doing that all day long. And I put her in the bed and I tried to make her comfortable with pillows all around and tried to make her as comfortable as possible. And the day went on and she started breathing harder and harder. And at the evening, some of the Bengali devotees, they got her relatives. They called her relatives from Calcutta to come. So it was her son and his wife and a few other relatives came, and everyone was around her bed, and we were all chanting the holy names. I was holding her hand on one side, and her son was right across from her, and she's like lying here, and I'm holding her hand one side, he's across. And I saw her for a moment, she looked like she was going to talk or wake up. Her lips moved and her eyes kind of moved. And I thought, oh, maybe she wants something. So I kind of looked over at her son like, oh, he's going to understand better than me. But his head was down and he wasn't paying attention. So I just spontaneously went very close to her head to hear what she's saying. And she just went, Hare, Hare, ha, ha. She was saying the holy names, but she stopped. And I thought, oh my God, was that her last breath? I just wasn't sure. And I waited for a minute, and okay, well, when, in the movies, when someone is lying there, they're dying, and then the soul rises up in an ethereal form, a see-through form. I actually saw her other hand started rising up and her whole body started rising up. I literally had to get out of the way because I'm seeing this ethereal form coming at me, coming, and I moved out of the way, and she's like this, kind of looking up at the corner of the room, and I see Prabhupada coming down in the corner of the room, coming down with his hand flying down from the corner with his hand outstretched. They held hands, and then they kind of just drifted off into the corner of the room. And I'm like, I remember my eyes watching this. It wasn't just like my eyes were closed. I remember I moved out of the way, and I'm watching my eyes see this. And when they went like this, they're kind of leaving and getting smaller. They both turned around and went, like, come on, everyone, you're all coming. We're all going. And they both smiled, huge smiles, and did that, and it lightened the whole. And then they just disappeared. And I thought, when they disappeared, I thought, they left me here. They left me here. Like I want to, I want to go. Oh my. And then I looked down for a minute, and I realized, oh my God, I'm still holding her hand. But you know how they say, whoever they are, but they say that sometimes you don't notice something until it stops. Like you don't notice a vibration was going on, maybe a light vibration in a plane or something, until it stops. Sometimes you don't notice. So when I was holding her hand, I had been praying like, oh, Krishna, let all my goodness, all whatever piety I have, whatever enthusiasm I have, whatever love I have, whatever goodness I have, let it go into her because she needs it now. I want to give it to her. And I didn't notice until it stopped that it was coming back. It was like she was giving me and I was giving her, and that reciprocation is transcendental love. So I got a little glimpse of what that transcendental love is. That it's the reciprocation of gratitude and appreciation and giving and then receiving. You're just going to receive it. So this, I was so overwhelmed that I started to think, okay, so I was so overwhelmed that we kept chanting and everyone's chanting and praying still. And all of a sudden I'm seeing light emanating from her body. And I'm seeing this like with my eyes again. Okay. I'm not usually a hallucinator, at least not in the last 50 years of, but I was seeing light coming, just emanating from her body. And I thought, oh, and I even went like this. Oh, Ananga, now you're just, this is all your imagination. None of this is true. How can she be glowing? She's glowing, and this can't be true. And as soon as I thought that, two other devotees came in, and they came in front of me, and one of them looked at the other and said, she's glowing. And I was right behind them, so I heard it, and I went, okay, well, if they see that, then if that's true, then all of that is true. Everything I saw was true. So I believe it. And I like to say that this has convinced me. I don't need convincing that when we just try to live in some semblance of goodness and love and gratitude towards the divine and towards each other, then we're gonna be totally protected and go to a great place. And that great place will be our own place. Like the Beatles say, what do you see when you turn out the light? And the answer is, I can't tell you, but I know it's mine. So these spiritual experiences, each one of us will have because each one of us has a different relationship with the divine, with Krishna. And Bhagavad Gita says, I reciprocate according to how you reciprocate with me. So that's confirmed. And that's kind of how I want to try to live my life. Prabhupada always signed his letters, your ever well-wisher. And so I have that tattooed, your ever well wisher. And I want that to be he's my ever well wisher, giving me so much. And I want to be everyone's ever well wisher. So here. So if we want, is the end now?
Yes. Thank
The
you
end?
so much, Ananga Manjari. Wow. What a beautiful way to finish, that Srila Prabhupada was your ever well wisher and that you wish that for all of us. And I think I can speak for everyone here that we wish that for you as well. So my dear friends, right now we're going to go into our breakout rooms. But before I pause the recording to do that, I just want to share the 2 questions that we will be reflecting on so that those who are watching it on YouTube later can participate. So our questions are, what can you let go of or embrace to evolve in your spiritual journey? And how can you improve the energy of your self-talk? Okay, so welcome back, everyone. And this is our reflections and Q&A section. And this is your opportunity to raise a virtual hand and either ask a question of Ananga Manjari, or you can also reflect on something that came up for you during the talk or during the breakout rooms that inspired you. So let's see. Great. Stacy, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
That's off. That was my grief and my grief and my love. Like, I love so hard and then I grieve so hard, but that life experience, I don't want to say story, the life experience that you just shared is so powerful. And I am so grateful that I chose today to sign in to listen to you share it in such a beautiful way, not in a sad way, in a way of love and kindness and service, and in a way of a devotee. And I just want to thank you. Did you, when you left, when her soul left her body, and then you had a chance to reflect back, what did that look like for you?
Well, like I said, I all of a sudden realized that as I was giving her, she was giving me so much back. And I just had gratitude. It was just like living in gratitude, and that's changed me completely to become more, not just thoughtful of that, but living that, trying, like that's my goal. That I want to fill my heart with gratitude. That's my religion, is gratitude. I'm not very disciplined in other ways, but gratitude is, yeah.
Thank you, Stacy, for that share, and Ananga Manjari for that reflection back. And we actually had a beautiful kind of suggestion in the chat from Kelly. She says, some of us are grieving so deeply. Can we please send out a prayer for the hearts seeking to let go of the pain and be brought closer to Krishna's heart? So I don't know, Ananga Manjari, if there's some way that you can reflect back on that.
Okay, well, let's take a moment and everyone reflect and think of anyone you want to throw a prayer at. I like to say throwing prayers, and we'll do that to anyone who's grieving in great pain and suffering in their life, that they will be able to see the love through it somehow, and see God's love, the divine love through it somehow. We'll take a moment.
Thank you so much.
We can be assured that with our intention, with the sincere devotion, what bhakti means, devotion, love, and with sincere devotional intention, when we offer a prayer, it cuts through all the material barriers. It cuts through all the chaos and crap and goes straight to the heart of the Lord, and He pours His love out, and that's real devotional service and bhakti. And I just want to say, psychologically, even when we fill our minds and hearts with gratitude, it's very hard to feel depressed or upset when you have a heart full of gratitude. Even the psychologists will say that. So that's just something. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. I know that that's something that's very close to Rukmini's heart as well. I've heard her say many times, gratitude makes space for Krishna's grace.
Yes.
So it's that practice of gratitude.
I use that.
Yeah. If anybody else has any questions or reflections, please raise your hand. Sadhvi Devi Dasi, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, and thank you very, very much for today. In the situation when it was a reflection that what we are willing to live, to let go, it's for me, after many years of whatever I have gone through and trying to make it okay, trying to do it okay, trying to help okay, I finally understood that let go of the control. You are not the controller. Just let it be. Just believe that everything is happening as it's supposed to. And believe there is something that you are here to learn, to complete, to go through or play the role, and then it's okay. It's okay to do this way. So that is what I just leave it be, not to have control. Stop having control over anything. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a saying, let go, let God. We put it in his hands. When we can't figure things out, we should sometimes be able to try to figure things out. He gives us intelligence to try to figure some things. But when we realize, okay, this is something I can't control, then we give it up to the Lord and let him take care of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I see Kelsey has their hand up. Kelsey, please go ahead.
Yeah, I've been tasked by Rukmini to be brave, because what I talked about in our breakout was that my fear is big for me. Fear is a big part of my self-talk. And Ananja, when Sadhvi was talking, I thought the same thing. I thought, let go and let God, right? This is a little quote I grew up with. And my, oh my, did it take me a long time to understand it, to really feel it. And as I was saying in the breakout, this, like, we talk about the antidote to fear being love. How do I let go? And I feel like I let go by being closer to God, by knowing God, by doing the things that bring me closer, so that in a way we can have like a trusting and loving relationship. And that fills me up with trust and love. So, and I just wanted to say to Ananja, I really appreciated at the beginning of your talk, you spoke about how we judge others on the path and, oh, they're not doing it right and they're not devoted enough and this and that. And I want to say, like, as a person who doesn't know it all about bhakti, it's also comforting for the person who doesn't know it all, right? It's comforting as a judger, but it's comforting as the judgee as well. If that makes sense. So
the other side of it.
That. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And we have Sharmila with her hand up. Sharmila, please go ahead and share.
Hare Krishna. Rukmini ji asked me to share, so I'm sharing with the group. The question was, how do we, what do we let go to evolve ourselves spiritually? For me, I felt that, to let go of unreasonable expectations from relationships helps me evolve, go a step closer to Krishna, because as Rukmini ji always says, we have to hold things lightly, our relationships lightly. The lighter we hold it, it's better for us, it's better for everyone. I feel that that's what helps me kind of go in the right direction. And another beautiful point that Ananga Manjari Devi today said was we have to embrace change. And change is the only constant thing in life. And that's pretty much what I always say at work as well, because there is so much change constantly being thrown at us. We have to we have to embrace that change. So even with, I think, in our spiritual journey, we have to just think that there is this change that's constantly being thrown at us, and we have to embrace that change. And if we can take that in a positive way, I think that'll help us, at least me, help get closer to Krishna. Haribo.
I love all these dear sisters who are kind of stepping up in their bravery to share. And I see we have two newcomers. So welcome again, Ganga and Jayashri. So Ganga, please go ahead and unmute and share.
Thank you, Mama. Talk.
Ganga's the beautiful daughter of Ananga Manjari.
It's so nice to see you sharing your heart here with so many beautiful women. I just wanted to share that my mom is a pro in being an evolved woman and human being and constantly evolving, and how she talked about change in the beginning. And that's one thing that I really, really admire about her, that no matter what stage of life, no matter how evolved of a person she is constantly evolving. And I think that's one thing that I hope to have and keep in my own life, no matter what age or stage of life. And I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, Mama, but kind of your process with that.
Well, first of all, Gangi, baby, Ganga, I want to say, I'm visualizing you evolving and dancing through everything in your life. And yeah, so thank you, because you're dancing Ganga. And what did you mean, like, to share? Because I kind of felt like whatever I said today is kind of more or less, oh, well, here, I can say something. Thank you for that. Now I got it. When we have moments in our lives, very few, like I said, those moments, aha moments, those spiritual experience moments, the Lord talking to us in our heart, however it comes to you, it changes the course of our life. It usually is something that changes the course of our life. And I want to invite those kind of moments in my life constantly. So I want to keep evolving until my last breath and then beyond, because that's the soul is eternal. So as eternal souls, it's not, enlightenment is not a thing that we acquire, or a pure devotional service is not something that we achieve and that's it. It's constantly evolving, unlimitedly. It's unlimitedly evolving. So to keep open to that. And I would like to say, as human beings, we have these little moments. So I have a question for everyone. Are we mere humans having a rare spiritual experience, or are we spiritual beings having a human experience? Like,
spiritual. Spiritual being.
Yeah, we're spiritual beings. Then we need to put our energy and time into evolving our spiritual awareness, so that those aha moments are almost every day, constant. That we're I think it was Kelsey said something, I'm walking with God. I want to be walking with God. He's our best friend and he controls everything. And someone else said, I don't want to be the controller. I realize that I can't do it all. It doesn't work out well when I try to control. So let the Lord be the controller of everything. He's our best friend. Hey, you having the best friend is the greatest benefactor, controller. And, so we walk behind his bravery, his strength, his ability, his, and we walk with him in that. So I guess that's kind of like putting our energy and time into developing that evolution of the soul. And that way our actions will speak louder than just words, because I can say, yeah, I'm a spiritual being. But every once in a while, because I'm human, I have every now and then I have a tiny little experience of spirituality, but why not all the time? Not that I have that yet, but it's something where I want to put my energy towards. Is that all right?
I think that was wonderful. So thank you, Ganga, for prompting that and for sharing that. And thank you, Ananga Manjari, for developing that further. So we have Jaya Shri, who tells us she's joining us from Chile. So please unmute yourself.
Krishna, thank you very much. I will share because Suravi asked me. We met in the private room. And so, yes, I can share that my let go of in this process is care for others, mainly because I worked very long years as nurse and midwife, and so I get very attached and accustomed to care for others. And 10 years ago, at age of 45, I had a total physical corporal breakdown because of a genetic disorder I didn't know I had. And so I collapsed literally. I couldn't stand up anymore. I couldn't move anymore. I am still in very heavy pain constantly. And then I had to accept to let go movement, work, everything. Well, you take for granted, no? And so I had to embrace self-care, let go. Yes, too much compassion, too much involvement with others, compassion for myself. And I get to years, I came to a place of harmony, like inner silence and peace with myself. And because I had to accept, I could never get to India. I cannot dance in kirtan anymore. And when I came to the inner harmony, suddenly everything opens up. And I get in contact with a lot of devoted ladies around the world. Very inspiring, very encouraging, very wonderful. And so I just, I'm so grateful that Krishna showed me is this kind of possibility to let go of control. And but because if I hadn't had this breakdown, I could never be in this place I'm right now today.
Wow.
Maybe.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Jayashri, for sharing that vulnerability and that pain.
Yeah. Pray that your pain dissipates.
Thank you. And it looks like we have time for one more share before Rukmini will kind of wrap us up. So Narataki Radha, would you like to share something, please?
Yeah, certainly. Jayashri, I feel that share deeply, that, it's often in our most broken down points where we see and feel Krishna's mercy the greatest. And just this last week, I had an opportunity to experience the intuition saying that something that I was going to be doing, in a couple of days was going to be really hard. And I almost backed out. And I did not. And it turned out to be really, really hard. But in the difficulty, I recognized that there was a protector part of me that protected me in that moment when my wounded self couldn't handle what was going on. But had I not taken that step back, taken that adventure into deeply misstepping in certain areas and feeling the setback, I wouldn't have recognized where I wasn't firing from my core self, and I was firing from woundedness. And so it turned out to be a lightning bolt of wake up. Actually, to set me back on track, to reset my values, to reset my goals, and reset my habits in ways that are going to help me move forward. So setbacks and missteps are just that, setbacks and missteps, never any failure, just only opportunities for growth, curiosity, and learning along the way. So thank you so much.
Beautifully said. Thank you. I like that. We just reset. There's setbacks, but we reset. Very nice.
Okay, so before we turn it over to Rukmini Walker, we just want to again thank Ananga Manjari for taking the time to be with us, to really open her heart up just with so much vulnerability and love, just sharing so much wisdom, as well as just that beautiful experience that you had with Srila Prabhupada's sister. And then also, please, for those that didn't see in the chat, if you can write your feedback to Ananga Manjari, I will be putting that together to email to her. So please kind of keep that in mind. And we will be turning it over to Rukmini Walker, who has so much to share, not only about upcoming Urban Devis, but other offerings. Please, Rukmini.
Yes, I'm so grateful to you, my dear sister Ananga Manjari. So many treasures that you shared, and I just want to recant them all, but just a few real highlights for me that, I feel like Krishna gave you the message that you are going to India, you are being sent to India to help her transition to be with her dear beloved brother, to go back to the spiritual world. Because, let's think about it. If you hadn't come there as such a great inspiration, she could have been surrounded by relatives, materialistic relatives who were not helping her focus on her lifetime of beautiful love for Krishna. So I really feel like Krishna sent you there. And I so much love, the whole story is just such a treasure. I want to write down every moment of it. In particular, that you were praying, whatever goodness I have, whatever piety I have, whatever good qualities, just give it to her, Krishna, give it to her. And then she just sent it back. Yeah. How beautiful is that, I mean, the whole story. And then she's holding Prabhupada's hand. They're flying off up into the spiritual world. And they're looking at you with that Indian gesture. Come on, come on. It doesn't get any better than that. So thank you so much. And I really love the 3 C's that you shared, that catch a thought before it becomes a feeling. Check it. Is this thought I want to go deeper, to become an intrinsic part of my feelings, my heart, my emotions, or not? And then choose a response. Don't just react. I love that so much. And I love having you here. And I love that Gangi is here. Is that the best? We have like a mother-daughter duo dancing Gangi. I'm so happy. Gangi, you're going to have to present sometime because you have a lot of beautiful realizations. So thank you both so much. I want to share that a couple of things. One thing is that our next Urban Devi, if all of you beautiful Devis would like to mark your calendars, our next one, because it's not always the same Sunday, but next one is April 13th. And we have an amazing presenter, one of my very dear friends, Nancy Rothman, who's a very senior sponsor and counselor in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. So she has many people who take shelter of her, and her topic is going to be, and she's very relatable and down to earth, and her topic is going to be recovering from resentments and fears. And resentments and fears can cause us incredibly deep pain because of the anger, regret, and shame that can arise from them. We look at ways to unpack our resentments and fears so that we can understand the root cause of them and then surrender to let them go. Some of the same things that Ananga was talking about. This process will also help in recognizing them as they might arise so we can stop them in their tracks. So that's going to be good. Don't miss it. And then I also wanted to mention, we have an amazing, and I see Chitraleka's here, wave Chitraleka. Chitralek is joining in from Colombia. And she and I are leading a wonderful women's retreat in Colombia. Guess what? We're going to go watch the mama whales. Well, they come every year. They come to a little bay off the coast of the Pacific called Bahia Solano. They go there to have their babies and to mate. And they're jumping out of the water and they're singing and they're carrying their babies on their back. And we're going to go. And please come with us. It's September 4th to the 8th. Please come. And we have an early bird discount. I think, let's see, what did you tell me, Sarah? We go to the Rukmini Walker website and then you can see all the details. But we have an early, okay,
So
good.
so you can find the event on rukminiwalker.com under events and get the link to register from there, more details. And also it's posted, the link is posted on the chat. And also we will, after the events, we always post it on the Urban Devi WhatsApp. If you're new, we're going to send you links on how you can join the WhatsApp group with our announcements. And also we email everybody who participate in session with some of those details too. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. And I wanted to mention that we have an early bird discount going on that's only until the end of March, which is just a few days. So please join us. It's super fun. We have kirtan, we have yoga right just steps from the ocean in a beautiful place called the Botanical Garden of the Pacific, which was a place that was founded by a beautiful woman named Chacha. And she loves Krishna also. And she made this place to protect it from loggers and developers. And it's a magical place. And we'll go there and we'll do kirtan and we'll have some good bhakti talks and we'll go see the whales. We go out on a boat with a woman biologist who knows all about whales. And she actually has I think it's a microphone where we can actually hear. She puts it, I think, on the bottom of the boat. And we can actually hear the whales singing, the mama whales singing. So it's just a super experience. Please come and join us if you possibly can. An unforgettable experience. And also the native women from Colombia. Last year we had a beautiful grandmama who came and she was singing their local songs and it was absolutely beautiful experience. So please come and join us if you possibly can. And thank you so much, Ananga Manjari. Thank you, Damodar Priya. Thank you, Surabhi Govinda. Thank you all for being here. This is a great joy in our month each month, and I'm so grateful to you. So Hare Krishna.